They say, if you love something, set it free. At LifeLock, we say, what a load of bull hockey! All that saving up and paying off debt, and now some identity thief wants to set it free? Crazy talk! LifeLock helps monitor your info and alerts you to potential identity threats. If you become a victim, we'll help fix it. No one can monitor all transactions, but LifeLock helps you keep what's yours. Save up to 25% off your first year at LifeLock.com with promo code LifeLock.
Introducing Peacock, the new free streaming service from NBC Universal. It's hit movies, current shows, live sports, trending bits, and timeless hits. And that's why you can't not watch. Peacock. Watch for free. Upgrade for more. Stream now at peacocktv.com. Law & Order SVU streaming now.
This is Special Prosecutor Larry Clayman.
I'm the only lawyer ever to obtain a court ruling that a president of the United States committed a crime.
For truth, for competition.
As a young lawyer, I helped break up AT&T. That's why you have all your cell phones today.
For sovereignty, for the Republic.
I'm the guy who at Judicial Watch, which I founded, uncovered the Chinagate scandal. Millions of dollars going to the Clinton campaign, corrupting our political system.
For the privacy of citizens.
And I'm the only guy to have enjoined the National Security Agency from mass surveillance on hundreds of millions of Americans.
Tearing it up.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
Bringing it back.
We're going to take this country apart and put it back together again in the way envisioned by our founding fathers.
It's not just talk.
We're not just regurgitating news stories. Larry Clayman, special prosecutor, is making the news.
And now, here's Larry.
Welcome to this week's edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Clayman. Things are going from bad to worse. As a former Italian father-in-law once said to me, appreciate today because tomorrow is going to be even worse. Well, tomorrow has come. And we see what's going on. On top of the purge of conservatives, people of faith, and those who believe in the vision of our founding fathers, just last Thursday, in a trumped-up criminal indictment, a vile leftist prosecutor in New York City, Cyrus Vance, indicted the Trump Organization and its chief financial officer, Alan Weisenberg, for petty stuff. They're not interested in either the Trump Organization as a corporation or Weisenberg as an individual for getting perks and allegedly not reporting them. And certainly, if that's true, they should have reported them, but it doesn't rise to the level of a criminal indictment. It would otherwise be a civil case by the IRS, if in fact that's true, if in fact it's true. But what they want is to turn Weisenberg and to have him give information and evidence against Trump, to indict him. And that's most likely will happen. Okay, they'll look hard enough or they'll come up with something like they did, like Mueller did, like he tried to do with my client, Dr. Jerome Corsi. We pushed back. We sued Mueller. We filed criminal complaints against Mueller. He backed off. He indicted someone that deserved to be indicted. That was Roger Stone, who had lied to the government. You can't get away with that, no matter how much this guy spins it. Roger Stone lied to the government and intimidated witnesses and obstructed justice. I'm not saying that people that commit crimes should get away with them, but there's selective prosecution in this country. And the left is now in control of all of the levers of government. And another thing that they're trying to do, other than just destroy Trump, because trying to destroy Trump, even though he's not the political messiah, even though we have to do it for ourselves, as I've often said, and that's the theme of our Third Continental Congress in Philadelphia next week on July 5th and 6th, and I hope that you'll come. Go to freedomwatchusa.org and sign up. Or if you can't, watch it live streamed at freedomwatchusa.org and crowdsourcethistruth.com. Also, it's being covered by two major networks, not Fox, but others. I hope that you, the American people, will see what's going on. We want to educate. We want to do what Thomas Paine did with Common Sense. And in fact, on Freedom Watch's website is the new Common Sense. I started my own website because conservative websites are starting to censor their own. They're so afraid of the retaliation. Well, Larry Clayman's not afraid. Freedom Watch is not afraid, and you're not afraid. But I'll tell you why people are afraid. Because my once proud Justice Department, of which I'm an alumnus under the Reagan administration, and part of even the Carter administration when I came in, has become like the German Gestapo. Over 500 people already arrested, hundreds indicted, peaceful protesters for the most part in Washington, D.C. on January 6th who came to support President Trump, rounded up like criminals, thrown in prison, many not even given bail, people having their homes broken into early in the morning, handcuffed in front of children. I have a client like that. Property taken away from them without probable cause. It is like a German Gestapo or the German Stasi under communism or the KGB in the former Soviet Union. This is the world we live in today. The country's been taken over. And then to try to fight back, there are conservative lawyers out there. I don't think anybody is as bold as I am, if I do say so myself. But there are others out there, there are patriots, that are trying to wage a counter-revolution and set things right in court. But you can't do that anymore because the judges are so compromised and corrupt, particularly on the federal level. How do they get there? Through large campaign contributions and other forms of bribery. They're establishment people. They got there by sucking up to the people that put them in power. They become the yes men of the special interests in this country, and they don't want to make waves. We saw that. President Trump's own lower court judges and Supreme Court justices threw him under the bus when he simply wanted a hearing as to whether or not there was election fraud or election irregularities. His vice president, Pence, Putz, maybe that's a better name for him, Putz bailed out. All Trump asked for was to send it for an audit to the various states where it was clear that there were massive election irregularities, if not fraud. He bailed out. The establishment is very powerful, and people are afraid. And when you put on top of that the misuse of highly leftist bar associations in New York, which this week temporarily suspended Rudy Giuliani for political reasons. If you read their reasons, they never even gave him a hearing. It's because he defended President Trump, and they hate Trump, and they hate Giuliani. He's also got a bar complaint before the District of Columbia Bar, along with Kellyanne Conway, for remarks she made on MSNBC, if you can believe that, for Bill Barr by all former presidents of the D.C. Bar. I mean, what are they even worried about Bill Barr? He never did anything to hurt the left. He never did anything, period, as Attorney General under Trump. He was worthless. But yet, all four presidents of the D.C. Bar filed bar complaints against him because he pulled back the indictment of General Mike Flynn and then made remarks on Fox News. Same thing with regard to Senator Cruz, Senator Hawley, who tried to defend Trump during the election aftermath. Same thing for me. They're trying to remove us from the practice of law. They will not succeed. There are even communists sitting on bar committees, like Michael Tiger in the District of Columbia, who was fired by Justice John Brennan for his subversive ties to Castro. I've got pictures of Tiger with Castro and a thank you note from Fidel. He just wrote a book, The Mythologies of State and Federal Power, something to that effect. Endorsements by Bernardine Dorn, a domestic terrorist, by Angela Davis, an avowed communist from Berkeley. These are the people that are running bar associations to try to eliminate conservative lawyers, people of faith, and otherwise. The bar associations in D.C. and New York, there are some bar associations that are good, that are ethical. These are totally corrupt. The same leftist swamp is in control of them as everything else in Washington, D.C. and in New York. And you can see that with the indictment of Trump Organization and the CFO today, and you can see this in D.C. with regard to what's going on there in terms of the persecution of people who came to the Capitol or even didn't even go into the Capitol on January 6th. The judges are fronting for them. Obama, Clinton, and even Trump judges, and even Reagan judges, threatening people because they're worried that they're next, that somehow they're going to be harmed. But you know what? Nobody was harmed. But yet they're frightened to death because they know they've been sitting on top of a corrupt government. And on top of the total leftist domination, the dictatorship that's been foisted upon us by every aspect of the left, whether it's radical Muslims, radical blacks, radical Jews of the Marxian left, radical gays, lesbians, transgenders, radical blacks, as I say again, atheists, you name it. And most people in these groups are decent people, as I often say, is the fact that we have no opposition party. The Republican Party is dishonest, it's corrupt, and it's dead. How many emails do you get every day from them asking for more money? That's all they want, is money to perpetuate their power and their prestige and their hold on the rest of us. But let me just give you one example of the dishonesty of the Republican Party. And it's nothing new. They've been promising a reform of Obamacare to get reelected. They had control of government. They lost it because they did nothing. They did little to nothing. They promised us a balanced budget when they controlled the government. That didn't happen either. We're now 30 million trillion plus in debt. Now we're going to go more in debt. And what's their latest scam, their latest lie? Is that they have reached a compromise with our brain-dead President Biden and the evil witch Vice President Kamala Harris for an $8 billion infrastructure bill, giving the American people the impression that that's it. But the Democrats have made it clear that they're passing another piece of legislation using reconciliation for an excess of $6 trillion to bankrupt the American people and to hand out money so nobody wants to work. You can't get anybody to work in this country because everybody's on the government dole nearly. You know, there's an expression. I actually have a T-shirt. Vote Democrat. It's easier than working. Well, it's worse than that. It's not just Democrats. It's Republicans. They're going along with this too. Free funny money. So this is just the latest example of why the Republican Party is over, why we have no opposition, and why the American people need to themselves rise up and take the country back. And that's what our Third Continental Congress is all about. Go to freedomwatchusa.org. Sign up for that. Join it. Come to Philadelphia. If you can't come to Philadelphia, watch it live streamed at freedomwatchusa.org and crowdsourcethetruth.com, and it'll also be covered by 2 major networks. This is important. And of course, we have word today that Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, also met with Mexicans, photographed together, laundering money from Mexico in addition to China, Ukraine, and Russia. What a corrupt government we have. It's time to change our government. I'll be right back with the next segment of Special Prosecutor with Larry Clayman.
Dangerous.
You don't hear, use the court and the law.
Lethal.
This is bad.
Special Prosecutor
Very bad.
Larry Clayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
Jefferson predicted that we would have to wage a bloody revolution about every 20 years or so. He said that was primarily going to be the result of Article 3 federal judges, unelected, unaccountable to the people, that would become despots and tyrants, that were not able to do the work of the American people because essentially they'd be bribed to the hilt. That's what he basically said. He didn't want to see violence. I don't want to see violence, but he predicted what would likely happen if the American people became complacent. Now, just this week, we see another example of judicial tyranny and outrage. A judge by the name of James Boasberg of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, the most politicized hack court in the country, and I've practiced in it for 44 years, I know. He threw out a case brought by the Federal Trade Commission and states' attorney generals to break up Google as a monopoly. He came up with some BS that they didn't plead all the things that they had to plead. The usual, it's not plausible, blah, 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 blah. Took the case away from going into discovery, took it away from going to a jury ultimately. And of course, I brought an antitrust case against all of big tech, and it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And Justice Clarence Thomas said it was a good case, but no one else there thought it was a good case because they're all a bunch of political hacks. Only Thomas has any integrity on that court. They're all part of the establishment. The surveillance of the NSA, the CIA, the National Intelligence Agency, they have dirt on all of them. I'm convinced that these Supreme Court justices frequently are blackmailed, as well as lower court judges. They have no guts. They have no courage, notwithstanding the fact that they're bought and paid for by special interest groups. So this judge threw this out. This is the same Judge Boasberg. I've had him in a number of cases. He's not necessarily the worst on that court because they're all bad. I can't name one good one on that court. I really can't, as hard as I try. I used to think Judge Lamberth was, but not anymore. He's thrown in the towel, too. He's become part of the crowd, the establishment crowd. He threatened people last week that were in the Capitol peacefully, effectively called them white domestic terrorists, and forecast that there was going to be hell to pay. But this is something that really is the essence of what's wrong with our whole system, is that if you do not have a judiciary that will stand up for the American people, that will stand in the stead for the American people, then what is the alternative? Then Jefferson's prophecy of a bloody revolution will take place again. And that's why, with all due haste and speed, I have put together the Third Continental Congress on the 245th anniversary of our nation's founding on July 4th, 1776, in the birthplace of liberty and my birthplace, the place that I'm proud to be from, Philadelphia. And we are having delegates from around the country come, just like the Second Continental Congress, which declared independence, to figure out a way out of the mess that we're in, and to declare independence again, and to create the foundation of creating a new government by and for the people, with people that are elected that are honest, with judges who are honest and not corrupt, answerable to the people, with leaders who have our interests at heart. We're going to talk about all of it. I want you to go to freedomwatchusa.org and see some of my proposals. It's not the Larry Clayman and Freedom Watch show. The delegates will decide what to do. But it's going to be a historic experience. It's going to be a very moving experience. It's being held in the Visitor Center, second floor of Independence Hall. The backdrop of Independence Hall, it's all glass. I wanted people to see it because that's where our nation began, and that's where we need to take it back. We need to take our government out of Washington, D.C. There's just a stench to it. It's a swamp. Most of the time when you're in Washington, there's actually a physical odor because it is a swamp. Let the criminals stay there and commit crimes against each other. We're out of there, guys. Have fun, boys and girls. We are the American people, not you. We are not nobility like you. You think you're nobility? You're not nobility. You're nothing. You're people who simply are exploiting us, and we want to return our nation to the vision of our founding fathers. So go to freedomwatchusa.org, see what we're doing at the Third Continental Congress on Philadelphia on July 5th and 6th. Please come if you can. Make a contribution if you can, because what we're doing is expensive, and we're going to have more sessions of the Continental Congress. And stay tuned. I'm going to have Stan CASACIO on, who's a talk show host in Philadelphia, a businessman who's helping me organize it. And a lot of great people are going to be there. So pay close attention. I'll be right back.
And now, 4 words that make corrupt politicians make wee-wee in their little pants.
Transparency and the rule of law will be the touchstones of this presidency.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Special Prosecutor Larry Clayman.
Be the one who makes our country great again. Go to freedomwatchusa.org and donate.
I'm back with my friend, a very distinguished person, a radio talk show host in Philadelphia, where we're holding our Third Continental Congress. The name of the show is the Don't Back Down Show. A businessman, an activist, and of course a delegate to the Third Continental Congress. His name is Stan CASACIO. Stan, welcome to Special Prosecutor with Larry Clayman. It's my honor to have you on. You've been very helpful and instrumental in helping us organize the Third Continental Congress. And for our listeners, I want to get your take on why you think this is such an important endeavor and what we can possibly accomplish. In fact, I know we will accomplish with all of the delegates that we're going to have in Philadelphia on the 245th anniversary of our first Declaration of Independence, which, of course, occurred during the Second Continental Congress. This is the Third Continental Congress. Stan, what are your thoughts?
Well, first off, I love the introduction. Can I wrap you up and take you with me to everywhere I go, and you can make my introductions for me everywhere we go? That was great. I loved it. I recorded it, by the way. So thank you for that. I'm really, really excited about this because, as a young guy, I loved history, and I'm thinking, and I always thought about the Founding Fathers, and you all know, everybody knows, that these guys were very, very human. They all had flaws. Every one of those Founding Fathers had flaws. But throughout it, they were able to create a form of government that's lasted 242 years. They read about Cicero, they knew about Plato and Socrates and the Athens democracy and the Republic of Italy, of Rome, when Rome was a republic, and they recognized tyrants and the theocracies and all of the negative things about central governments that can destroy things, and they came up with this form of government, which, when you think about it, was absolutely incredible that they came up with it. So this Continental Congress, I'm thinking, as a kid, what it would have been like to be one of the Founding Fathers, to sit there and argue and discuss how to create a new form of government. Because that's what they did, right, Larry? They argued left and right as to how to approach it, and they came up with this form. So now, after 242 years, I can explain to your people. And I do construction. I'm Italian. That's what we all do. Italians love building things. But every building I do, I try to make it a little bit better. I look at the mistakes that were made or things that I can improve to make the next building better. And it's the same thing with what we have now. We have a product that's been on the market now for 242 years, and clearly we have some flaws that we can definitely make better. And I think this is a great way of discussing this between people of like mind, people who want their country to give its citizens the best opportunity to be the best versions of themselves, to allow people to have the freedom to succeed and the freedom to fail, and then get up off the ground and try again. This what makes it so great to be an American. And I think this is what we're going to try to do, is to have this discussion and see if we can come up with some new ideas, which I have a bunch of them that we could do that make it better.
You're right. It's not the Larry Clayman and Freedom Watch show. It's everybody's show. And this is to set an example, is that our Founding Fathers, and I say this frequently, Stan, they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and everything. They risked it all to form a new nation. Actually, I didn't say that. They said that's in the Declaration of Independence.
Who was it that said that we're either going to succeed or hang together? That we either succeed together or hang together. That was another made that comment.
That was one of the greatest citizens of Philadelphia, Benjamin Franklin, who said either we all hang together or separately we will hang. And when I was a kid, I used to go to the Franklin Museum there. Benjamin Franklin's all over the city, even as much perhaps as Sylvester Stallone and Rocky at this point. But what we're trying to accomplish, because, and I want to, get your thoughts too, is that our current government no longer represents us. It's not just because it's been taken over by the ultra left, a brain dead president, a vice president alleged. I don't recognize them, frankly, and you probably don't either. They were elected fraudulently, in my opinion, and we didn't get a full hearing to that. But these people are just simply the rubber stamps of the radical left. And I take issue with the use of the word progressive. I don't know where that came from. I guess if you want to use a word that sounds similar, regressive would be better, because we're going back to a time of Bolshevik-style communism in this country. In our Declaration of Independence, it says that when in the course of human events, I'm paraphrasing, the government, the so-called government, no longer represents the people, they have a right under the laws of nature and nature's God to alter or abolish that government and to form a new government by and for the people with equal rights for everyone in pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. That's a paraphrase of what Jefferson and the others wrote. I'm very proud of being from Philadelphia. I want people who come to our Third Continental Congress to tour Independence Hall. It's a hallowed experience. For Jews and Christians, it's like going to Israel, and seeing where Jesus was born, or, where Moses walked. And this is where it all started. And so therefore it's a moving experience, but also it's necessary now because we don't have a government that represents us. I mean, we've got our Justice Department, if you want to call it that. I once was a proud alumnus. I was a prosecutor, defense lawyer in the antitrust division. I helped break up AT&T, among other things. But it's become like the German Gestapo. It's running people
Larry,
down.
Let me interrupt you for a minute because
yeah, please do.
It's more insidious than that. What we have become is a product of the bureaucracy, a system of government which basically perpetuates itself, and it does everything to protect itself and perpetuate even more. So the bureaucracy becomes embedded. You have senators and congressmen who are there for so long that they see it as their right to govern. They see that they know there's no one capable of replacing them at all. They think they're just the smartest people in the room. So it goes beyond the thought of socialism and everything else like that. Socialism is nothing more than the product of central government thinking that it's the best thing for everybody, and everybody's got to do it. And if you don't conform, you go to a gulag, or they send a prosecutor after you and basically says you're guilty until you can prove yourself innocent. So it's all been a sham. It just gets worse. It's self-perpetuating. So the Ministry of Justice doesn't give you justice. The Ministry of Truth doesn't tell you the truth. The Ministry of Science gives you charlatans out there. So they're telling you, it's just like the White House saying, oh, it's really the Republicans that have been saying defund the police. And I'm thinking, well, where the heck does that come from? So you're dealing with a government that just refuses to let go. And this is what we have to adjust. This is the thing that they warned us about. As you know, Jefferson warned us about the judiciary system because it was appointed. The fact they didn't think about the fact that people would want to serve forever in Congress. Because they were traveling by horses and not by planes and limousines and things that they have today. So they're treated like the aristocracy. These congressmen and senators and everything else like that. So we must get back to it. We need to incorporate in to improve the Constitution we have. What I'm going to propose as a delegate from Pennsylvania is that we install term limits, mandatory term limits. And I'm talking about term limits for judges. I'm talking about term limits for Congress, for Senate, for everybody. And I've got numbers. I don't think a judge should serve more than 25 years. I don't think a congressman should serve more than 12 years. I don't think a senator should serve more than 18 years, because after that they become, millionaires. We've talked about this before. LBJ didn't have two nickels to rub together. He left a millionaire. Harry Reid came to Congress with, practically nothing in his bank account. He wound up, $45-50 million worth of value at the end. And look at Biden. There's a guy, 47 years, never had a job, was a third-rate lawyer, was wrong about everything, any decision he ever made, he was wrong. Every one of his ideas were wrong. He plagiarized speeches, and yet we elected him, and this guy's worth millions and millions of dollars today. Tell me, why is it that people continue to vote for these people. And this is why you need to have term limits there. That's just one area that we wanted to discuss about it. So, you jump in and argue with me if you think I'm wrong.
I'm not going to argue. I agree with you. I may actually shorten the term limits for judges and others as well. 25 years may be a little bit too long, Stan, but I do agree with the concept of it. And we need to elect the judges. They need to be accountable to the people. And we should be electing directors like the director of the FBI. Look at this guy, Christopher Wray. I mean, just a yes man, carrying out the will of the radical left, branding everyone that dissents, essentially, white domestic terrorists. And then, of course, Biden comes along and does the same thing in his pseudo State of the Union speech. And then we've got federal judges, even good ones in the past, but have somehow turned and gone south, like Royce Lamberth, who made so many good rulings for me at Judicial Watch when I was taking on the Clintons and others, basically telling people that came to the Capitol on January 6th that they're white domestic terrorists too. Yet we have 500 plus arrested, most white. But I can't think of one Black Lives Matter or New Black Panther Party or anybody else who's been arrested for all the damage that they've done. And this is where we are today.
Larry, you know as well as I do, is that they have never named one white supremacist somewhere. I don't know who they are. Certainly they haven't named them. They haven't named a group. They've taken a situation. And listen, there was a person that, and I won't get into the name right now, but the guy's 73 years old. He's a pastor, Vietnam veteran with a Purple Heart, wounded. Him and his son went down January the 6th. They went into the White House. The video shows him talking to the police officer. The doors for the Capitol opened from the inside, and they were letting people in. So he goes in, then he says, "Oh, this night," and he leaves. They came and they arrested him in front of his wife, in front of his daughter-in-law, his grandchild. His son was arrested, and the daughter is pleading with these people from the FBI, the great FBI. And you know what the guy says to the daughter-in-law? He says, "I'm so sorry, but we were told to do it. It's our job." And Larry, as soon as I heard that, I went immediately to 1945 to 1946 and the Nuremberg trial, and every one of those creep Nazis, it's the exact excuse that they use. It was their job. They were ordered to do it. They didn't have a choice. And damn it, that's wrong. If those guys think it's wrong, they shouldn't have arrested them, and they should be raising heck. And Ray, this guy, the head of the FBI, when I look at him, I'm going, what the heck? He has about as much backbone as a jellyfish to stand up for what's right with the FBI. The FBI that I think should be there should be protecting its people and not being used by the government as their shill to destroy public dissent.
Well, I don't think Ray even knows what's right. I don't think he knows what's right, because what you're talking about is people who their entire lives, they spend it sucking up to the establishment to get ahead. And see, that's the problem with the federal judges. How do you get to be a federal judge? You have to suck up. You have to generate large campaign contributions or other forms of bribery, legal and illegal, to get on the bench. You become the vassal of those who put you on the bench, the yes men, just like the judges of King George III in England. And as I've said many times, Stan, King George III was Mother Teresa compared to the people that are in control of our government. So anyway, I want to thank you for everything you've done, Stan. Stay tuned. You're going to see Stan and others at our Third Continental Congress. Go to freedomwatchusa.org and you can watch it live streamed on the 5th and 6th of July. Thank you, Stan. God bless you.
Before he was a trial lawyer, he sliced him and diced him.
People used to ask me, Larry, what caused you to start Judicial Watch and now Freedom Watch, given the powerful forces in this country that put you at risk?
In a meat packing plant.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
A very special prosecutor, Larry Clayman.
Fellow patriots, believers in the vision of our founding fathers, believers in our Constitution, believers in ethics, believers in the rule of law, believers in the Father and the Son. And if you're Jewish, and you're not at the point that I am as a Messianic Jew, a Jewish Christian, belief in the Father. But here's where we are going, ladies and gentlemen, fellow patriots, fellow Americans. We are going to lead our country to the promised land. Like Moses took the ancient Hebrews out of Egypt, we are going to do the same. And that's what we're doing at our Third Continental Congress. We're going to lead you. We're going to lead you back to the land of Zion, the land of God. And of course, Israel and its history and its current way of life is so tied to the United States. We are joined at the hip. We're like Siamese twins, because it's our Judeo-Christian ethic which needs to be enforced, which needs to be furthered. The Ten Commandments, the Talmud, the Old Testament, the New Testament, the ways of Moses, the ways of Jesus, the ways of King David, the ways of others who have come before us. If we do not rise up and do their will, the will of God and his Son, this country surely will perish. And you have to wonder, you know, I'm very proud of being Jewish. I'm a Zionist. I'm also a Christian. Jesus has come to me on 3 occasions and spoken with me and communicated with me. And he said to me, Larry, you know, I've gone through hard periods in my life. I can tell you that. Someday on a radio show, I'll tell you, or otherwise. But he said, Larry, clear your head out. You're with me now. I'm with you. And you will pay a price. I paid a bigger price. But I just want you to know that I'm with you. So get your head clear. It's time for the American people to clear their head out, too. It's time for you to get up off the couch, to put the scotch and soda down, to put your cigar down, and get to work. Because if you care about your kids and grandkids and future generations, they're going to be living in a communist hell. And as of today, they're already living in a hell. They just don't know it yet because it's come so fast. The left has taken total control so quickly that people are dazed. They think somehow things are going to return to the way they were. Well, this isn't Barbara Streisand and Robert Redford in The Way We Were. No, it's not. It's a very frightening situation because the left has seized total control over this country. The left is evil. Hear that? It's pure evil. It's inhabited by the devil. Doesn't believe in God, doesn't believe in individual initiative, doesn't believe that all people are equal. Like the devil, it tries to divide and conquer, creating wars between races, ethnicities, other groups. It cares only about material things. It cares only about pleasuring itself. It cares only about destruction. And this may sound extreme, but the left in this country is frankly worse, in my view, than it even was in the Soviet Union. Because you see, this country has a heritage, and they're destroying it. Russia never had the heritage that we have, never had the foundation that we have. These people know what the vision of our founding fathers was all about, and they want to destroy it. And frankly, if they had their druthers, they want you and your family dead. If you are a conservative person of faith, or for that matter, anyone who believes in the vision of our founding fathers. I'm going to be blunt. So we need to rise up peacefully and legally. We need to take the country back. We need to come up with a new form of government peacefully and legally. We will not move against anybody, but the very power of our persuasion, of our belief, of our heritage, of our faith will carry us through. Just like the founding fathers did when they invoked the divine providence and created a country, the greatest country on earth, beyond all odds. So go to freedomwatchusa.org and join up for our Third Continental Congress. We've got a lot of work to do. We better do it fast before all is lost and we are living in a communist hellhole. I'll be back next week with another edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Clayman. Until then, Remember that the Father and Son will only help those that help themselves. Stay safe, and thank you for listening to me.
Los pros comienzan el día aprovechando los servicios exclusivos en Lowe's. No solo ofrecemos clavos, tendrás aire comprimido gratis para tus ruedas y tanques portátiles, estacionamiento de remolques para pros cuando vengas de compras, un lugar para limpiar tu parabrisas y una bebida energética para despertarte. Aquí tu día empieza más rápido pagando en cajeros solo para pros. Por eso Lowe's es el nuevo hogar de los pros, solo en Estados Unidos.
This is Peacock. I love it! It's streaming your favorite shows, movies, live sports, breaking news, exclusive originals. It's The Office. That's what she said. Chrisley Knows Best.
It's gonna be Todd's Way or the Highway.
And Peacock original shows like Punky Brewster.
Holy macanoli.
So whether you're in the mood for every live WWE pay-per-view or every episode of Law & Order SVU, Peacock's got you covered. Peacock. Watch for free, upgrade for more. Stream now at peacocktv.com.
Spark the savings at JCPenney's 4th of July sale now through Sunday. Get up to 50% off select furniture, mattresses, and window coverings during our home sale. Plus, save on hundreds of doorbusters across the store for the entire family. Save even more on select styles with an extra 25% off coupon. Celebrate every summer moment with JCPenney. Offers and coupon valid through 7/4. Doorbusters valid 7/1 through 7/4. Some exclusions apply. Furniture, mattresses, and window coverings limited to 10% off coupon. See store or jcp.com for details. Or jcp.com for details. Or jcp.com for details. Or jcp.com for